We have a few more people straggling in, but we'll be able to just get the ball rolling here. So, how many of you are Campaigns of the Titans vets? I turned off the chat, so you guys can't answer this right now. But let me see if I can give you permission again really quickly to go ahead and put in your answers here. I'll give you permission. There you go. So go ahead and type in the questions box if you're already familiar with Campaigns of the Titans. So type yes if you're a vet there. We got Josh, he's one. Neil Sinclair's one. Amy hasn't. We have a couple other ones. Kathleen hasn't. Cheryl has. Tim has. David has. Abe has. James hasn't. So it's a pretty good mix. I like seeing this because we're gonna. If you haven't heard of this before, we'll go over the first edition of Campaigns of the Titans. I know this is volume 2, so you can get a feel for that. But I also want to be able to cater to the people who have seen it before, so that we don't bore them to death. I don't think that would be the problem here at all. So yeah, so it's great to see a good mix here. It's about 50-50, I would say. So I want to start by sharing a little bit about us. So I'm Bryce. I'm running the marketing over here at Plus This, and I'm the creator of Campaigns of the Titans. So I'm the guy that kind of put this thing together. And my experience with Infusionsoft goes back for over 7 years. I first started in this career working with big brands like Microsoft, Dell, Nestle, LiveScribe, Dole, and more. And then over the last 7 years, when I started really working with Infusionsoft, I started running marketing for small businesses. So that's kind of where I come from. I'm a big pet lover. Bigby, he's my lab over here. He likes to go in the water a lot, so I'll take him paddleboarding every once in a while. I have a Chihuahua named Monty. I don't have any pictures of him. I'm not the biggest fan of Chihuahuas, to be honest, but we still love that grumpy old dog. And then Bass is our kitty that we just got not too long ago, too. So that's a little bit about me. The other guy on this call is Brett Martineau, but I'll let him go ahead and kind of introduce himself.
Yeah, so some of you may know me. I see some familiar names in the list. So to you, hello. To the rest of you, I'm excited to kind of go through some of the stuff we're talking about today, and it's going to be a good time. We've got a lot of fun stuff that we're going to talk about. I got my start in this whole industry, in this whole area at Infusionsoft back in the 7th employee at Infusionsoft. Back when there were, we worked in the tiny, just the early days. It's actually kind of funny thinking back to a lot of those days. But I've worked since I worked at Infusionsoft. I've worked with a lot of different in this space, including 6 Division and Plus This itself. I actually worked doing a lot of this kind of stuff for Plus This. And then I went and worked with Frank Kern. And just quick side note, we're going to be talking about the Frank Kern 4-day cash machine, which I actually built for him, the campaign that we're going to be talking about today. So it's going to be kind of fun. And any questions anybody has about that, I'm happy to answer. So make sure you're dropping those in. Now I'm working with a company called the Oliver Bilson Marketing Agency. Loving it, having a grand old time. On the side, you can see me up there engaged in hand combat, so to speak. I do Muay Thai on the side, which is essentially just a form of kickboxing. And then we have a dog named Wick, and you can't actually see it in that picture because my head is covering it, but he has the funniest way of folding his paws in the front. Like if you check out, maybe I'll in one of the emails afterwards. Oh, there you go. Yeah. So he has this little thing that he does where he folds his paws. He does that all the time. He's always folding them up like that. So anyway, I call him the dork face, but he's cute. So anyway, I'll flip it back to Bryce and you can take it.
Yeah. So here's what we're going to cover today. We're going to start by talking about why we created Campaigns of the Titans. And then we're going to show you how the pros build campaigns that are proven, predictable, and profitable. We're going to talk about the 3 campaigns every business should use. And then we'll cover these 3 campaigns in there. We're going to start with the 4-day cash machine. That's one from Frank Kern. We're going to have the dynamic welcome and anniversary campaign. And then we're going to have a simple upsell campaign too. So all 3 of these we're going to go over on this webinar. And these all come from our volume 2 of Campaigns of the Titans. And then lastly, we have something that will let us do we'll show you how to get a free copy of Campaigns of the Titans Volume 2. Cool. So the webinar is for you if you've ever felt stuck and needed some fresh ideas and examples to help you get unstuck, or you love seeing what the experts' campaigns look like and reverse engineering them for your own business. You're curious what tools the pros use to make reliable, predictable campaigns, or you like step-by-step walkthroughs of powerful campaigns you can create for yourself. If these are things that you're looking to get out of this webinar, go ahead and type yes in the chat so we can see that we're covering the things that you guys are looking for. And yeah, no, this is great. And someone asked about Bast. Yes, he's named after Name of the Wind for sure. So a lot of people typing yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Good, good, good. All right, we'll keep going. Oh, the last thing. It's also for you if you're open to investing in your business, as long as you can make an ROI from your results. So the webinar is not for you if you're looking for a silver bullet, you're closed-minded to using tools outside of Infusionsoft. This is the first time you've ever used Infusionsoft. Some of this stuff will be a little bit more advanced. And so that's why I just think that this will be good for people who are pretty familiar with Infusionsoft to begin with. And so before we begin, I just want to get some of the housekeeping done. So we're going to answer a lot of the questions that you're probably thinking already. So first one is, will there be a replay and how do we get it? Yes, so we will have a replay and we will give it to the attendees. So we'll make that available to everyone that comes and attends. And I'm not sure, we'll probably just either broadcast it out to you or look for an email later that will have, like, a lot of times we have an email that goes out and we just ask you to reply back to it so that you let us know you're interested, and that way we can send it to you. So keep an eye out for that, and that's how you can get your replay. Then the next question, what are you selling? So this is always a great question to kind of just get out of the way in the beginning too. To be completely honest, we're going to show you Campaigns of the Titans. It's a free digital download you can get. So you don't have to pay anything if you don't want to. You're welcome to buy a physical version of it. We'll talk about that too. And those are like 19 bucks. We really don't make any money off of those. We actually sell them at a little bit of a loss. So that's the only other thing we're selling. And then obviously we have Plus This. That's the tools that we'll talk about in here too, that you're welcome to start a free trial. And we actually have some really cool bonuses for people if they want to even just try it. So that's it. That's all the pitch stuff at the end. So just wanted to get that out of the way first so that you guys can just rest easy and not have to worry about, oh, what are they really trying to sell at this end of this thing? So the next question is, how do I know if any of these campaigns will work in my business? So when I sat down and kind of created the content for this webinar, I wanted to pick specific campaigns that pretty much any business could utilize in their business. So we picked one, like the Frank Kern one. That's one that is great for any time you want to make any kind of offer. It could be a really good evergreen offer for a business. And this works in services, it works in products, it works in a lot of different areas. So yes, that will work in your business. The second one we're going to show you is a welcome campaign. It's actually used for welcomes and anniversaries, and you'll see it can be used for a lot of other things too. But as long as you have customers, then you should be able to use that one too. So I think we're good there. And then the third one is an upsell campaign. So as long as you have like multiple things you could offer, that one should be pretty easy to work with too. And then lastly, is Plus This required to run all these campaigns? So obviously we're running this as Plus This. If you've seen Campaigns of the Titans Volume 1, a lot of that was also showing some cool things you can do with the tool, and the smart people that are making some really cool strategies with it. But you could run these campaigns without it. They just might require some parts to be done manually, or you might need to hire a developer to create something custom for you. So if you're totally against ever using something like Plus This, these are still doable. It just might be a little bit more work on your end. So before we dive into the content of the webinar, or kind of like the campaigns themselves, I want to tell you a little bit of a story, a little bit more about me. This is where I used to work before I was at Plus This. I worked at a small executive coaching company. This is the executive coach's guest house, basically, that I had a little desk in. And I would work back there, and I was brought on to run their marketing for them, basically. And when I was brought on, this was plus like 7 years ago or something like that. I came in, and the first thing they're doing is they tell me, okay, the person who used to do our marketing is no longer here. They left. They're doing something else, and we need you to quickly learn how to use Infusionsoft and get at it, basically. And so they put me at the desk with the computer and the website for Infusionsoft, and that was how I was going to learn it. So here I was working for a small business on my own, trying to figure it out. And so I started doing that. So we did a lot of experiments. We made some web pages. We weren't sure what would work, so I did a lot of blogging. We did infographics. We made videos. We did webinars. We just tried it all, really. And the results were hit or miss. Like, we had some really good highs where the blogging resulted in us being listed on the top 100 websites for your career. But then we also had things where it's like, yeah, we did the first step, which was we need to build our list, right? That's what Infusionsoft always teaches you. You got to get your list, got to get your lead magnet, then you got to sell people. And we were getting good at like the first part of that, building a list, but we weren't really doing the best at like selling them. I'm curious if any of you have ever felt like this before. You've kind of been on your own, working in a small business, having tried to figure this out on your own. Type in the chat. I'm just curious if I'm the only one that's ever experienced this. Grant says, who, me? Helen, yes. A lot of people are saying, yep, doing it now. Gary, awesome. And hopefully this will be inspiring for you. So the thing was, lots of people were still trying to figure this stuff out. It was still really new. And so I started studying these guys and these girls. Yeah, Derek Halpern, he was really good at like being able to do launches and stuff like that. Mari Smith, she was a Facebook expert, she still is, but she did a really good job of like bringing that up to speed when Facebook was really still kind of new in the advertising realm and everything. And John Morrow, he knows how to write, and he was a big expert on blogging too. But this person that probably taught me the most was this guy, Frank Kern. And it was shortly after this that I had my breakthrough. So what you're seeing here is a screenshot of Frank Kern's whiteboard, where he goes through 4 campaigns really. And it's hard to understand what is happening back here, but I'll just tell you, like, this was amazing. He spent an hour and a half, I believe. Brett, actually, you designed this thing, didn't you?
Yeah, the guts behind the campaign. I mean, he did. Frank's a little bit crazy. He did most of it himself, but the guts behind it and the organization of it. Yeah, I was there and helped him build the whole thing as this was being built out.
Yeah, so there I was. I'm this marketing guy. I'm working in a small business. I'm all on my own. I have to figure this stuff out because no one's going to teach me. I got a degree in marketing, but it's totally useless for internet marketing, to be honest. But and then I'm watching this video from Frank Kern, and it's amazing. And what he's basically going over in this video is he shows like this campaign where he's like, okay, we're going to send them a series of emails, and if they click a link, then we're going to send them this offer where it's going to expire after 3 days based on when they click that link. And then we're going to make it so those links do different things based on if they do it in time or don't. And then if they don't progress from there, we're going to put them into a video series. And so he has this video series campaign, and he's doing it based on how long people watch the videos. And he's doing some really cool stuff with that. And this whole time he's explaining these things, and in the back of your mind, you're like, how is he doing it? How is he doing it? How is he doing it? He's not telling you how. He's just saying, we're going to just do this, and it's going to work. And then he picks up another one with a webinar. He does the same kind of thing. We'll invite him to a webinar. If they attend, we'll do this. If they don't, we'll do this. And it's all automated, and it's magic. And I was just like, this is really cool. Frank's teaching something called behavioral dynamic response marketing. And it's doing things like running different follow-up based on how much video they watched, making evergreen expiring offers based on when they clicked on your lead magnet, or following up on webinars based on if they attended or not. And I wanted to know how, right? But the place where I worked was pretty cheap and didn't have $1,000 to pay for Frank's class. And I think a lot of you probably have the same kind of situations where you don't have a huge budget when you're kind of the one marketing guy, right? So you got to find this out all on your own. And so I was lucky. This is a really good picture of me, by the way. My high school friend, Todd Stoker, this is him right here. He was at this time, just shortly before this, started working on a little product called Plus This. And me and him stayed in touch a little bit because Todd, before he was working and doing this Plus This thing, he was at Infusionsoft, and I was getting into Infusionsoft and being a new marketer guy. So we would talk about Infusionsoft stuff, and then he's like, yeah, I'm working on this add-on thing for Infusionsoft called Plus This. And he's like, do you want to try it? And I'm like, sweet, yeah. And it happens to be the same thing that Frank Kern was using for that whiteboard video up there to do all the cool stuff you were wondering about. And so I was like, awesome, I got to try this stuff out. And so I started making a video series, a 4-part video series, one of the campaigns that Frank was going over. And so we had a little landing page thing set up and videos and following the steps that he was kind of just going over. This is just for me, like gleaning what I could from the free stuff that Frank was giving me. And then we were sending people a 24-hour offer after they signed up for that 4-part video series and did things based on when they clicked on links and how much of a video they watched and all that. And the results were amazing. Like we started adding the expiring offers and making this evergreen campaign, and that made all the difference. So we had a similar campaign with minus Plus This, and it was getting almost no sales. But after implementing these features, we got consistent increased sales. And the best part was it took no human interaction to convert the sales. Generated recurring revenue for the business. It felt really good seeing sales come in on their own. So what do you think the lesson was that I learned from this experience? And I'm actually going to do something cool here. One of the people who responds to this question, I'm going to give a free copy of the physical version of Campaigns of the Titans. So I'm looking in chat to see like what kind of lessons do you think you get from an experience like this? Grant says, do what winners do. Kathleen says, use Plus This. That's a good answer, Kathleen, but wasn't quite what I was having yet. I'm not showing enough. Russell says, automation is king. Laura says, work smarter, not harder, automate. Big. And get it done, yeah. You learned how to learn, Graham. I like that one. Mel says, follow good people. I think Mel is starting to get exactly where I'm going with this. So Mel, I'm going to send you a copy of this thing. Mel, just send in the chat or email me. I think you have my email, the shipping address you want us to send this to, and I'll send you a free copy after the webinar. But here's what I was basically learning. I think a lot of you were hitting on this too. The right strategies with the right tools can make all the difference. I'll just say that again. The right strategies with the right tools can make all the difference. Everything I was doing before, I was following some strategies, but I wasn't using any tools. I was being too cheap. I was like, what can I do for free? Oh, I can write blogs. Those are free, right? I can build a list with that. I can do maybe a webinar. Like they already had a webinar platform, so it wasn't like it cost anything extra to do that. So yeah, we'll do some webinars. But we were too cheap to even look at like, hey, how are the people who are actually really good at this, like doing a lot of these things and finding success? And it was a combination of things like that. So you remember these guys? Guess what they have in common? I'll let you answer this one too in the chat. I think you might see some similarities here. Yep, they're getting on it. They use Plus This, exactly. All these experts, everyone you see here, they use Plus This. And they're brilliant marketing strategists, and they all use tools. Brett, you might be able to answer this too, but out of all the people that you've worked with, have you ever found like really successful businesses that use zero tools except for Infusionsoft?
No, I can say that unequivocally.
Yeah, me too. I don't think so. So I want to fast forward a couple of years. I've just started running marketing at Plus This, and you've kind of gotten a feel for it. I know we haven't even really introduced Plus This. We just talked about it. But Plus This, just to give you a 1-second like intro to it, it's a library of over 50 add-ons for Infusionsoft and Entrepreneur and Drip. But it lets you do things like your webinar integrations, tagging people based on how long they watch videos, the countdown timers you probably saw in some of those emails, SMS, so you can send reminders and things like that, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I was here marketing with Plus This, and I'm thinking, we have all these smart people. What if we took their strategies and the tools? We know they're using Plus This. Why don't we ask them if we could show some of their campaigns and like how to set up some of these really cool strategies that they use, and be able to give that to people for free, just like help them have that shortcut, right? And so I got to work. I started talking with Frank Kern, Dave Ramsey, Ryan Dice, Brad Martineau, and getting campaigns from them that we could just basically package and start sending to people. And so this is from the first volume, a few example pages from that. So we would give people a good overview of what the campaign looked like from a very general level, basically like a home page. Then they get a sign up form. And then here's a picture of like a sign up form. And then we send them to a thank you offer page. We have some time where we're setting some ads, and then we'll have an order form that they go to and offer expired. And then we'll show like the actual websites and what that looks like so that you can follow along with that process. And then the second part of those campaigns was showing you how. So this would show you like the Infusionsoft part and what it's doing on the website during that part. So we try to make it as simple and easy to follow as possible. So anyone with this thing could open it up, put it to the side of their desk, or open it on another screen and start experimenting and trying out some of these campaigns for themselves. Because I really wanted them to feel the same success that I did after I started looking at what the strategies of these experts were and implementing the same kind of tools and strategies that they were doing to find success. So that was Campaigns with Titans Volume 1. And the criteria that we had for that was pretty simple. The campaigns needed to be proven. So they couldn't be things that were like, hey, this is a really cool idea that I have, but I've never used it to see if it actually works. It needed to be profitable. So it needs to actually like bring in money. That was the other big thing. I know a lot of Infusionsoft users have a hesitation when it comes to using other tools and stuff because it's another monthly subscription. It's going to cost you more money. So I wanted it to be clear that, hey, if you implement these strategies, it's going to make you more than $79 a month. I promise. And so we needed those kind of campaigns that would do that. And then same thing with predictable. They needed to be things that you could set up and it would predictably turn out revenue for you, basically. And here are the results. Over 4,000 of you downloaded it. It was our #1 lead gen source by far, and it was evergreen, low touch, high value, free offer that worked. So it's something that we don't have to spend a lot of time with everyone that downloads this for them to get it and to be able to start getting the value out of it and be able to get some results from it too. So if this was so successful the first time, how could we improve it for the next one? And so if we just give a quick summary, the first one was 177 pages. It featured 7 contributors, featured 7 campaigns, had evergreen funnels, a video series, Facebook ads, webinars, and membership sites. Those were the type of campaigns in there. And then we just used a basic PowerPoint design, and it was digital only. So the first thing we did is we had it professionally designed. You can see here's the one from Volume 1. Here's what it looks like inside Volume 2. So there's very well designed in there. Then we more than doubled the number of contributors and campaigns. I know some of these contributors are on this call right now. Jake's on here. Cheryl, I've seen her type in some things. If there's anyone else that's contributing, I'd be happy to call you out too. So I appreciate that. These are some really smart people we were able to get. Dobbin from Get You Wired's in here. We have 6th Division, a couple guys that were from there at the time too. We have Systemly here. We have Box Out Marketing, Tyler Garn. So we went for the people that are the biggest names in this space and asked them to do it. And finally, we made a physical version. So we had a lot of feedback from the first one that people wanted a physical copy. And so we made that thing for the next one. So now if we want to compare the two, here's what it looks like. This one, the new one is 396 pages, almost double what the other one was. Features 16 contributors, features 17 campaigns. It's a professional design, and there's a physical edition to go with it. But here's the real question that matters. Who cares? What if the content isn't any good, right? So that's what we want to do on this webinar is let you see for yourself. So we're going to cover 3 campaigns right out of Campaigns with Titans Volume 2. We're going to start with Frank Kern's 4-day cash machine. We'll go into then Cory Thomas's super personalized welcome campaign And then we'll also talk about an Upsell MoneyMaker campaign. And so that will be our agenda for the next little bit. And to help you get the most out of the next couple of campaigns we'll show you, I just want you, these are some important points. Pay attention to the general concept. There's a lot of stuff we're going to cover here, so don't feel like you have to cram or take a bunch of notes to know exactly how to apply these. Everyone can get a free copy. We'll talk about that later, so don't feel like you have to know every little detail here. And that's kind of going on with these points too. You don't need to implement these ideas right away. So the big thing here is we're going to walk through what some of these campaigns look like, get an idea for what the strategy is. So like with Frank Kern's, oh, cool. He's doing this thing where they're watching a video. He's putting a timeline on how long they can watch the video, and here's how he's doing that. Awesome. I could see how I could use that in my business. I don't need to know, okay, I have to have a smart link that does this, goes to this page and then this page, and then I have to put a tag here. Don't worry about that kind of detail right now. When you're ready, I also recommend that you have the tools open as you go through the campaign. So we have a free trial plus this. You're welcome to have that in addition to this, so you can actually walk through these, open up plus this, see the tools that they're using, and be able to easily understand like what they're doing there if you need it. And then be open to ideas that these strategies may stimulate in your own business. So yeah, not all these strategies will be like word for word exactly what would work for your business, but you might see some really cool concepts like an upsell that maybe it makes an idea for, or it gives you an idea for like how you can differentiate upsells based on if they're already a customer or not. Or maybe you'll get something from Cory Thomas's campaign where you can see how he's embedding a name into a picture to invite you to a webinar or something. So definitely be open to those things. And at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Brett to talk a little bit about Frank Kern's campaign.
All right. This is fun. I'm actually excited to talk about this first, not just because it's fun to be back in the plus this fold again, but also because this is the campaign that I built, as I mentioned before, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. And I just want to reiterate as well what Bryce said about just about making sure that you're not trying to take like a ton of notes or go super deep into what's happening here. We're going to go through some concepts. Oh, and actually one other thing, I talk with my hands a lot, so I'm going to turn on my webcam so you can all see me talk with my hands. I think it's on now. So a lot of hand talking, so just be aware of that. Okay, so let's dive into the 4-day cash machine. The other thing that I want to preface this with is the 4-day cash machine is actually more of a concept than it is like a specific, this email goes at this point and then this thing happens. And in fact, what I'm going to show you right now is like a version 2.0 of the original 4-day cash machine that Frank came up with. So let's just dive in here and go for it. So many of you know who Frank Kern is, and you know his history in this space, and you know where he comes from and kind of a lot of the history behind him. Now, the 4-day cash machine, he will admit himself, actually wasn't his idea. He loves to tell this story when you're at events with him or any of that kind of stuff. The 4-day cash machine actually was an idea that his cousin Trey came up with, and he basically just took that and then ran with it and has then added some additional pieces to it. So just conceptually, as we talk about a 4-day cash machine, the core concept of what a 4-day cash machine is just scarcity, time scarcity. Basically, it's just you have X amount of days and the offer goes away after X amount of days. That's essentially what a 4-day cash machine is. Now, there are some cool little bells and whistles that I'm going to show you in a second that we added in when we built this particular campaign, which I'll just get to right now. So let's go through just the kind of the face of the funnel, what you would see if you actually went through this funnel. So the idea here is we're trying to get people to engage in some piece of content. So we might record a video, like for example, Frank came up with the whiteboard workshop, which was like an hour long, but he was driving his email list to go watch that video. So there were emails that said, hey, I just created this video for you, go check it out. It talks about A, B, C, D, E. You want to watch it because, X, Y, Z, et cetera, et cetera. Click here to go watch the video. Now, once they clicked, we were taking them to the video, and then we were tracking how much of the video they actually watched. And then based on how much of the video they watched, we put them into a countdown sequence, that's like 4-day cash machine version 1.0 is just that countdown sequence. But that essentially put a deadline on an offer that they could take advantage of if they acted before the deadline. And originally, he was doing a lot of this stuff manually, applying and removing tags from people manually, changing links in Infusionsoft manually. And when PlusThis came along, it automated a lot of that stuff. So we'll get into some of the nuts and bolts of it in a second, but I just wanted to kind of point that out. So let's go through kind of the face of it. So the first thing that we were having people do was opting in for this. The video was, we kind of framed it as the future of internet marketing, right? It's this whole idea with behavioral dynamic response. So they were opting in first. And then before we actually sent them to the video, we were getting we asked 4 questions to get more information about who they were. It was actually very interesting for us to get this data because it turned out that, we knew that people that were interested in affiliate offers were not going to be good customers for us in the long term, but that info marketing and coaching and consulting customers, or people that thought they were in those businesses, were going to be really good for us. So as a total side note, this is the type of data you can be gathering. And we also found that it didn't, like, people would fill this out. We didn't have any like decrease in conversions to get people to the video, even though we were asking them all these questions, which I thought was very interesting when we ran it. But we were driving them to the video based on their answers to those questions. And then once they actually opted in and started to watch the video, we would send them the emails with the actual date that their offer, so to speak, expired. So it looked like, okay, this is the thing, and it does expire on this day, and they may be thinking that it expires on that day for everyone, when really it just expires on that day for them because they happen to opt in 4 days earlier. Now, once they got to the video itself, it was a very, very blank page. There wasn't a whole lot on it except for the video itself. And then we put a timer at the bottom that would show up at the very end of the video that would then allow them to sign up for the next sort of big step, which was a consulting call to speak with Frank about, to build a blueprint for them. And then we were trying to sell them coming out to one of our boot camps. Now, not only was the button being delayed, but we were also keeping track of how long they were watching the video, because as part of that sequence, which I'll get to in a second, we wanted to know exactly how much of the video they'd gotten through so we could send them back to watch the whole thing, because it was very important to us that everybody watch the whole video before we move them forward. And so again, you can see here, the whole thing after they watched that video was, it then unlocked the ability for them to actually move forward in the campaign and get the offer to what we wanted them to do. And the beauty of it, which I can't believe that this wasn't something that everybody had been doing, but I think probably it's because the technology wasn't there to actually make it happen. But we were able to write things in our emails. If you just look where I'm pointing at my screen, I think you can see this. If you can just look where the arrow is pointing, we were able to write things like, we know that you watched the whole video. Like, I know that you watched the whole video. And what that does is it gives you the ability to say to your prospects, I know that you're interested in this because you took time to consume my content. And how you word that in the copy isn't as important as the ability to say that. Whereas before, you kind of have to guess, I don't know if you watched this video or not, but here's what it said, right? The other way around is you can just be very, very specific to who you're talking to and what the message actually is. And then the really cool part was that totally automatically, without us having to do anything, at the time when the individual person's offer expired, they were automatically sent to a different page. And this actually, ironically enough, this was the page that we sent everybody to, no matter what campaign they were in, if the offer was expired. It literally, all it said was, it's just what you see. This is the actual page. This content has been taken down. It expired. We take deadlines seriously. So we had the same sort of offer expired page for everything. But it was nice that we didn't have to like remember, okay, this person opted in on Tuesday, which means we got to turn the page off for them on Saturday, and do anything like that. So that was huge. Okay, let's dive into some of the nuts and bolts and talk a little bit about how we set this up. And again, as we get into this, there are some pieces that we're going to talk about with this campaign that are a little bit extra. They're a little bit more than what a traditional 4-day cash machine is, but this is essentially how we built that campaign. So there are a few features that we're using. plus this features, that is. The first is what's the date feature. What that does is allow us to know what not only can we trigger campaign items based on when their offer expires, but also we can turn that into like human speak so that we could merge it in and it would say actually February 12th, 2014 or whatever the date was, instead of whatever the campaign trigger date field looks like, which is disgusting. We're also using video triggers, obviously, to be able to track how much of the video they're watching, and then smart links, which controls the link to go buy or the link to go sign up for a call, which then gets diverted to the this content is now offline page after their offer is expired. Okay. Quick side note. I'm going to do a lot of quick side notes. We also use the smart links. Remember those questions that I said we asked right after they opted in? What type of business are you? How much revenue do you do? How much revenue do you want to do? We asked some questions like that. We built out a little campaign that would send people back to whatever question they hadn't answered yet. So we were very, very stickler to people can't watch the video until they've answered all these questions, and they can't get to the offer until they've watched the whole video. And we were able to use plus this to do that because they click the link and dynamically for whatever question that they had or hadn't answered, it would take them back to that correct spot in that whole process. Anyway, I'm not going to go super much further than that into that, but I just wanted to point that out. So let's take a look at the campaign. And as full disclosure, this is actually not what the original campaign looked like. I don't know if any of you have ever had the privilege of seeing what Frank's campaigns look like when we build them, but it didn't look quite this pretty. But this gets the gist of exactly what happened. So as you walk through opting in, then we ask questions, and then there's 4 or 5 segmentation questions. Then we're tracking whether they click to the video, and then we're keeping track of how far in the video they got, and then driving them to the offer. And then there's the scarcity on the actual links themselves. So let's dive into the individual pieces. So basically, there was an opt-in form, and because of all the segmentation that we needed to do next, we just put there were a lot of these we called them placeholder campaigns, which was just a timer that would sit people there until they moved forward. Most of the time they were supposed to just move forward, but anyway, I don't want to confuse too much on that. So there's an opt-in form to opt in for the video. Then we're using these questions, which were getting segmentation information that was allowing us to then market to them more effectively later. So the first one is what type of business do you have, and then we're asking what's your list like. And there were I think 4 questions that we asked, 4 or 5 questions that we asked, and it actually would branch out based on what they answered. So for example, if we go back here, if they answered info marketing or consulting, then we took them directly to what's the size of your list. And then if their list was over a certain amount, we took them to, I can't remember exactly what the question was, but we took them to a separate question. So we were at that point, we're using plus this to not only it's like kind of like Inception. We were using plus this for like 12 different things. Not only were we using it to take them back to the right place in that survey, but we were also branching them out based on what they had actually answered in the survey. So anyway, I digress. So after the questions, then we had to, once they actually opted in, then we were calculating the date that their offer would expire, which was just 4 days in the future. So this one you can see February 19th, 2016. That just means Bryce opted in for the video on February, what's the math there, 15th, 2016, okay? And then this email was sent, and it was go back and click and check out the video and watch through it, and then we were doing all the tracking all the way down. By the way, another side note, you can see that image there. A lot of you, I think, saw this image when we did it. This was like the first real beta test of pick snippets, which I'm going to talk about in a second.
Yes.
But that we got so much response from that little piece right there. When I talk about pick snippets, which I will in a second, I'm going to go into some really cool things you can do with it. But that idea of merging the name on there is really cool. Anyway, I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. Yeah, go ahead.
Quick thing too. Someone's saying in the chat that they only see you and not the screen. Is anyone else having that too, or is it just a few of you? I can see both. I'm just curious.
Okay. Well, maybe I think in GoToWebinar you can select which one. I mean, listen, I talk with my hands, so you're probably getting most of it from my hand motions anyway. So.
Yeah. So Graham, probably just check to see if there's any settings on yours. I don't know why it disappeared.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry.
Maybe I'll just get really close and you can see the reflection in my glasses or something.
Most of the
anyway.
makes it, so you're good.
Okay, sweet. So anyway, so that's the email. We'll talk about pick snippets in a second. So what we did in order to get that date in there is we go into plus this, and what you're looking at here is actually like the feature setup part of plus this. So you can see here what we're doing is we're saying, okay, we want to take the day when the feature is used. Oh, it looks like we were only doing 2 days. Wow, I thought we were doing 4. Either way, it doesn't really matter. So we were adding today, we're taking today's date, and then we're adding a certain number of months or days. In this case, it was 2, because that's when we wanted them to watch the video by. And then we're storing that date in a certain field. And then we're taking the humanized version, which is, you can see down below, the February 19th, 2016 was the way that it needed to be formatted. That then gets merged into another field. So now we have a field that we can use to in the campaign builder for the timers. And we also have a field we can merge into the emails, and they correlate. It's the same date. So we set up the feature for that. That's what created the merge field in the email. Oh, so I got ahead of myself and didn't let the slides do the talking for me. So anyway, so I explained all of this already, and then we drop that into the emails themselves. Now, well, we dropped the merge field into the emails, and I think I am getting ahead of myself. So let me back up a second here. So the first thing we have to do is actually tell Plussys to run that feature. So you can see here we go into Infusionsoft, we drop that in. I think a lot of you know how running the features in Plussys works, and then we just take that merge field. You can see here. And drop that into the email, and it will merge in dynamically based on where they are. Quick little side story. So for some reason, when I was one of these boot camps I was running for Frank, we had everybody out, and I was taking them through this exact process that I'm taking you through right now, the whole idea of like building a 4-day cash machine, calculating the date and everything. And for whatever reason, we came up with the name of the field was expiry date, which I think they say that a lot in the UK, expiry, but we never say that in the US. So I don't know where that came from, but that ended up being the way that we ended up naming it forever. So anyway, just a stupid side story.
It's passed on.
Yeah, it's from generation to generation, as it were.
Yeah.
So that's the date piece of this. So making sure that and by the way, that up until this point, that's essentially all that a 4-day cash machine is. Frank always used to talk about, he had another client that I never actually got to meet, which I was sad about, because he was a guy who taught Krav Maga, and that was his business. But he said he only sells his business in 4-day cash machines, but they're 14-day cash machines. So essentially it's the same countdown style. It's the same, like everything that we're doing, offer stacking, all that kind of stuff, was the same stuff. The only difference was instead of it only waiting for 4 days, it was waiting for 14. So a 4-day cash machine is just 4 is the date that we picked, that was picked, I should say. But you can do the same thing with any number of days. You can say, look, you've got until next week, and so you got 10 days to look at this. And then the nice thing is that Plussys will handle the math. You don't have to worry about it. So anyway, so that's that. Now, the next thing that we need is we need to be able to send emails with links to the video or to the survey or to the offer, whatever it is. But we need those links to actually turn off on the day that we say they're going to turn off, so that we're not looking like idiots that have fake, scarcity. And so the way that we set that up, we'll take you through. This again is plus this. So what we're doing is using smart links in plus this, and then in Infusionsoft we're using a tag which indicates that they are eligible, or that the cart is open, so to speak. Meaning that they should be able to see the offer page. Again, in our instance, it was the video. In some people's instances, it's going to be like the sales page. It could be a schedule page where they can book a consult with you. It doesn't really matter what it is. So the first thing we're doing is we're deciding, okay, what tag are we going to use to determine whether or not they're eligible to get sent to the right place. Okay, so you can see here in plus this, we decide, okay, they go to the whiteboard demo. If it's good, and by the way, somebody, it'd be hilarious. Somebody go check on that link. I wonder if that video is still up. It would be hilarious if it was. frankkern.com/whiteboard-demo. Like seriously, go do it. I want to see if it's still up. And then once that tag gets removed, then they'll go to that expired page, and the expired page should still say the same thing that it said before, which is this content has expired. Once you've got both of those on there, and you're basically saying the way you have to think about the smart links, I'll just go into this really, really quickly, is as soon as one of these things is true, meaning they have the tag or they don't have the tag, it's just going to send the person to that URL. For 4-day cash machine specifically, there's only two options. It's either they have the tag or they don't have the tag. So it's pretty binary in that sense. But that doesn't mean you can only use one or the other for a smart link. Like there's a lot of other functionality there. Just for the 4-day cash machine, it's just, do they have the tag? Okay, send them to the video or the page. If they don't have the tag, send them to the offer expired page. And then obviously Smart Plus this will give you the link that you then merge into your emails. And we always used campaign links for this, which is what I recommend. Taking the Smart Links feature URL and putting that into a campaign link as like link to offer, and then using campaign links all the way through. Because what happens is if you ever need to change that out, you can do so very, very quickly and easily just in one place, as opposed to having to go to a bunch of different places to do it. So that's what I would do there. And then obviously, in order to make that work, we have to apply and then remove the tag according to the right days, right? So in this instance, when they opt in, at the same time as we're calculating when it expires, we're applying the tag that says it's live, or they're eligible. Or they're eligible for it. And then 2 days later, we're removing that tag. Now, one thing I will mention as a word of caution to you, because this happened to me when I was setting this up for Frank. If you set up the tag to be removed like you see in front of you on the screen, where it's a timer that's set on its own, if you have a massive list, like any list bigger than probably 25,000, there's going to cause problems with this. And if anybody has a big list and they want me to go into the specifics of that, bring that up in the Q&A section, because that's kind of an important thing. The first time we ran this, the tag the tag got removed before the people got the email saying that it was their last chance. And it was just because of the way that emails are sent versus tags are removed. Anyway, so it's a whole thing. If anybody has specific questions about that, or they have a big list, let me know, and we'll go through it specifically at the end. And now, so once you have that installed, you can see here, when the tag is applied, they go to the video, and when after the tag gets removed, they go to this content has been taken offline. So pretty straightforward. Then the last piece for this version of the 4-day cash machine is the video triggers. So not only did we want to know that they had access to the video, and not only did we want to know what questions they had answered in that survey, but we also wanted to know how much of the video they'd watched. So we set up video triggers by grabbing, I believe this was a Wistia video that we were using, but we dropped the embed code inside plus this, and then we just configure it to say, okay, at X number of minutes and X number of seconds, we want to apply such and such tag. And then in the campaign, it was literally just, okay, did they watch to 25 minutes? Okay, start this. And then once they get to 10 minutes, I think it was the first one. And then he had, okay, so this will give you an example of Frank being a genius, but absolutely insane. I think we were tracking 10, 25, 35, 45. No, it was 10, 25, 50, 75%, 80%, 90%, 95%. And we had specific, like we were tracking there was that much granularity in it just because we wanted to move people along based on how much they'd seen. Anyway, so you can go that granular, I think is what I'm trying to say here, but it's fairly easy to set up. And then in the campaign, you can set it up a bunch of different ways but that tag that gets applied will allow you to segment people based on how much of the video they've watched. So in this instance, what you're looking at in front of you here, you probably are just saying, okay, I'm going to send this video, and then I'm just going to assume that I'm only going to send everybody to it once. And then if they watch a certain amount of it, then I'm going to segment them after the fact. What you can also do is move them along in the process as they watch more of the video. And then you can circle back to people and then drive them back to the video. So we can go into some of that at the end with the Q&A, which I'm happy to go through. But that essentially is the 4-day cash machine. There's not a whole lot more to it. It's at its most basic, a 4-day cash machine is 4-day cash machine started, plus this feature calculates when the 4-day cash machine expires, and then merges that date into the emails. And then there's a smart link, which controls whether they see the offer or not. That's pretty much all it is. And anytime there's a video involved, what we've done here is tracked how much of the video they've watched. So you can go as complex or as simple as you want with it. Sorry, gotta wet the whistle a little bit. So if there are questions about 4-day cash machine, about any of the strategies, any of the specifics on that, drop in the question box. We'll go through them at the end. I'm going to move on now and talk about the super personalized welcome campaign. And the fact that it's named that way is perfect because of who we're talking about right now, because it is so Cory. Now, I know a lot of you know Cory, and Cory and I are very, very close. We worked when we were at 6th Division together. We were the roaming 6th Divisionites, and we would come in. We'd fly into Arizona just about every week, and we would stay in a hotel about a mile away from the office, and so we got very, very close. We essentially, what would end up happening is he would bring his Xbox, and he would sit there and play video games, and I would watch like it was a movie. It was perfect. We had the perfect symbiotic relationship, because I don't like playing video games, but I like watching movies, and he doesn't like watching movies, but he likes playing video games. So it worked out perfectly for us. Anyway, I digress yet again. In this campaign, what I'm going to walk you through, and this, by the way, is the campaign that sold me on why Pick Snippets is so cool, why the idea of Pick Snippets is so cool. By the way, Bryce, I think can you mute yourself? I think there's some noise going on behind you. You can just go kick whoever's there. Just kick them right in the shins. That works too. But this campaign that I'm going to show you is because I didn't really I don't know how many of you have seen Pick Snippets or have heard of it, but I didn't really get why it was cool until I saw this. So let's go through this particular campaign and just give you kind of an idea of why this is cool. So the first thing that happens is once a customer signs up for a service, I know that 6th Division does this as well, plus this does this as well. I think we know Frank started doing it in his marketing, but as the process of welcoming somebody to the team, there's an email that's sent to them that has their name. You can see here, it has their name actually merged into the picture, which makes it look like the team got together, wrote your name on a board, and then took a picture and sent it to you, which I think is kind of cool. And that's, by the way, that's the thing that sold me on it. I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. Because most of what I thought it was going to be, I'll show you right here, was things like this: do not open until April 17th, 2018. Just like merge somebody's name, onto an image like this, which I thought was kind of cool because you could put the person's name on it, but it didn't really make as much sense. But then I saw the welcome thing, and then now seeing this, how it all ties together, it's brilliant. So the second half of it, first, when the customer signs up, they're getting an email, looks like this, which is welcome to the family, and then their name. And then a year later, they're getting probably a couple days before, but they're getting a picture that looks like this, which is tied specifically to when they signed up, right? Which is it's just cool for customers to get that. By the way, just as a quick side note, this is my shameless plug for Pick Snippets, because now that I get it, I'm obsessed with it. Take a look at these two things right here. So I have as part of the Oliver Burleston marketing agency, which I'm part of, we have a client, and what we did with him is we used Pick Snippets in the same, to in a marketing campaign. But the way that we did it, if you take a look here, you can see there's a little note card on top of this stack here. You don't have the name merged onto it here, but there's a name merged onto this one here. This is for the same guy. The subject line for both of these emails was, hey, contact first name. This literally has your name on it. And then it was a stack of what they were getting if they bought the product with their name actually merged on it, which is just brilliant beyond belief. It worked out really, really well for him. We had one guy who thought it seemed weird, but he got good results from it. And so it's really cool. This kind of the things you can do. So if I can influence you to go check out Pick Snippets, go do that. But that's not really what we're here to talk about. So let's get into some of the nuts and bolts of how this is actually done. So this as far as Plus This is concerned, this doesn't require a whole lot from Plus This, but it does require Plus This for the campaign itself to work. So first thing that's happening is obviously you have a Pick Snippets account. And that's what's going to handle the images themselves. But then inside the campaign, we have to calculate when somebody is added, right? So it's when someone becomes a customer, or when that anniversary date actually happens. And so what we're doing at that point, again, same thing as what we were doing in the 4-day cash machine. This is like a hacked 365-day cash machine that doesn't have an offer. It just has a cool picture that we're sending. So in the same way that we were adding days before, now we're just adding 12 months to the date when it happened, and then storing that into a custom field called customer anniversary date. And then that field, once we've calculated it, obviously using the feature URL and dropping it into the campaign itself, that field then gets passed into pick snippets as a custom field, which then gets sent, merged into the picture itself. So we'll just basically at this point, obviously you got to log into pick snippets and get your image pulled back. But one thing you do inside there is they allow you to merge in the fields from Infusionsoft, which is then would be the field that you would use on this particular thing. So you can see here, you select the field, you select it's from Infusionsoft, and then the field that you actually configured. And then after, it could be the anniversary field or the first name field. That's not, whatever field actually it is that you're using isn't as important. And then you can go into Infusionsoft, and the Infusionsoft, when they updated their email builder, I think a lot of you have seen this, and it's actually pretty cool. I like this. They allow you to use your own custom image URL, which works out brilliantly for this because it's easier for Cory just to host that image for you and then merge the information in via a post. You just drop that image URL in there, and that's pretty much it. So what happens then at that point is it dynamically will grab the first name based on who you sent the email to, merge that into the actual image that they see in their inbox. And that is the same type of thing works if you like. There's another piece you could add into a 4-day cash machine, which is a countdown timer, which is just it's the same thing. It's an image that counts down. It's a GIF that counts down based on the date that the countdown ends, right? So there are, like I said, there are more things you can add in to that 4-day cash machine to make it even cooler. And it works kind of the same way here. But as far as this is concerned, highly recommend pick snippets. And for both of these campaigns, you can't really do it without plus this, because you can't calculate those dates any other way. So I'm actually going to flip back and hand this back over to Bryce to take us to the last campaign. Like I mentioned, though, stick around, because if there are questions or there's anything you want me to go through, whether it's about 4-day cash machines or this campaign with Cory, or really anything else you want to talk about, whether it's plus this or Infusionsoft, and that kind of stuff, I'm happy to answer questions and maybe even jump into Infusionsoft and plus this and take a look at some things. So stick around, and I'll get all those questions answered. For now, I'm going to turn my webcam off so that if I need to take a drink or something, I'm not distracting, and then I'm going to flip this back over to Bryce.
Thank you. Cool. Awesome. All right, let me get this full screen again for you all. And let me know in chat if this looks good and sounds good. But the last campaign I'm going to go through pretty quickly because it covers some of the same ground that the other ones do with smart links and stuff. And it's a really simple one that I think you guys can get pretty quickly here too. So this one comes from Mark Garrett from iEngage Marketing. He's an ICP with Infusionsoft. And the funnel that he submitted is a really cool upsell funnel. I really like kind of how he put the effort into like showing me this part of his campaign where it's more like a diagram. And what you're seeing here is they're driving a lot of leads from Facebook. They're going to a landing page. He's sending them to a thank you page where they have like an offer for, these are like vitamin supplements, a really simple product kind of thing, right? And then based on what they buy here, if they're a customer, they might go down a different path. Yes, they come to this, they should see this upsell. If they're not, they should not see that one, but see this one instead. And obviously, you can take this to whatever level you want when it comes to upsells, but he took it pretty far. And I don't think that I need to explain like every little step of this, but you'll get the point. And so if you ever want to do like those kind of simple upsells where they buy a bike on offer a helmet, you can do that. Or if they're already a customer and they bought this thing, then the next upsell they see, this should be this thing. That's what this is for. So his campaign, it really just walks through what I'm sharing there. You're seeing they're getting different supplements. They go through an order form to get it, and then it's checking to see if they're an existing customer, or if not, they get a different kind of offer basically. And same thing here. They'll have different thank you pages when they fulfill that. And that's pretty much his funnel there. And he uses a couple different Plus This tools. You've already learned about smart links from Frank Kern's 4-day cash machine. He's going to use these. The thing that we didn't show yet, Brett, was like how smart links can be used with forms too. I guess you might have done that with Frank's too, but this will send people to different forms based on what tags they have. So this is how he knows if you're already a customer or not. Then he has countdown timers to add urgency, and then he's using our one-click upsell feature to kind of manage the whole branching path. So here's his campaign. You don't have to have this exact kind of campaign, but it's just an example of one that goes through a purchase sequence, and then he's using those diamonds to basically tell if they were a customer and they bought or they didn't, and that kind of stuff. And again, smart links, we've covered this before, but here's where you can use the same kind of thing where he's putting in the thank you pages that they should go to based on what tags they have. And so those thank you pages are basically your upsell pages, the way that Plus This works. And so here he's just describing his path again. And then in the upsell feature, you're basically able to add subscriptions or products that you want them to see next. And when you're done with this, Plus This will give you a button that you just put on your thank you page. And that thank you page serves as your upsell. So imagine like someone goes through your order form. I think he has an example of this here further up. Yeah, so someone goes through their order form. This is what he's created here is just a simple thank you page. And this is the button that Plus This gives you at the end. That's how Plus This knows which one they should see next or what that button should do. And it puts it all in a simple like order for you. So that is pretty much the gist of how his stuff works. And what I really liked about a lot of the contributors on this project is that a lot of them have recorded additional video walkthrough content for you, so you can get a detailed like step-by-step explanation from them as well. So just wanted to cover that really quickly and just do a quick recap here. So you know the importance of using the right strategy with the right tools. We learned that from my example, my story, and I'm sure a lot of you are in similar boats where you're an army of one or work at a small business, you're on your own, and you have to kind of figure this stuff out. The second thing is, you know, there are people out there who have figured this stuff out and they can help shortcut your success. And you know there are tools available to help you create the same kind of campaigns as the pros without having to spend thousands on expensive consulting. And that's why we created this to Campaigns with Titans, and we made it free, specifically designed to help you build campaigns for webinars, video series, limited time offers, Facebook retargeting, smart surveys, membership site gamification, and more. Those are all some of the examples of the campaigns that are in there that we haven't gone over yet. So if you want to have 17 campaigns at your fingertips from people like Frank Kern, Get You Wired, they're heavily featured in Icon this year, Greg Hickman from Systemly, Cory Thomas, Tyler Garn, Sixth Division. There's a whole bunch of awesome experts in here. And if you want to learn the latest proven profitable and predictable strategies and to shortcut your learning curve and avoid costly mistakes, this is for you. And here's how we do it. So you have some options here. Here's how to get the things that you've been waiting for this whole time. You can get the digital version for free at campainswithtitans.com. Some of the people Neil was mentioning earlier, he's already grabbed it and he loves it. So you can totally go check that out right there. The physical copy you can grab, it's $19, or what's probably even better is you can get a digital and physical copy for free with the 30-day free trial plus this. But we're actually going to make it a little bit better. That's what normal people get. But because you guys sat on here for an hour and stayed to the end, you get some extra bonuses. So the first thing is you'll get the first 25 people who sign up for the free trial version with the Campaigns with Titans and a free trial plus this will put you into an exclusive strategy call with Cory Thomas. So the founder of Pick Snippets. He's a really brilliant marketer. He's worked with Frank Kern, Sixth Division, like we said. He also knows a lot about Plus This, so you can ask him all those kind of questions too. We're going to do an exclusive call just with the first 25 people who sign up from this webinar for a free trial. There is a catch though. We can't leave this open forever, so we're cutting the deadline for that on Sunday, July 30th. So just make sure if this is something that needs a little bit of sign off or anything that you talk to whoever needs to make that decision before Sunday so you can get the advantage of it. And here's what you would do next. Here's what campaignswithtitans.com looks like. It's a really simple page with an email and first name. You'll just put in your information, and then you'll see this page after that. This is the next step to get the physical version or not. If you don't want the physical version, you just want digital, you can stop right there. You're good to go. But if you're looking for the physical copy, I might actually, do you guys want to see the physical copy? I'll show it after this really quick. But you'll fill out your information. And down here, this is what you'll use if you want to get the free one with your trial plus this. And we'll send you to the form. And then if you already have a free trial or you want to just get the physical version, you're not ready for plus this, then you can just choose a different option down here for the $19 one. And it'll take you to this page so we can get the shipping address and everything to finish set up. So just to recap, if you want to learn the latest proven, profitable, and predictable strategies, shortcut your learning curve, and avoid costly mistakes, the URL to download your free copy is right here, campaignswithtitans.com. And one other thing I want to mention too is that there's a no risk guarantee. If you sign up for the free plus this trial, try out some of the plus this features, and in the next 30 days decide plus this isn't for you, simply cancel your free 30-day trial and we'll let you keep the book. So you can go through it, you can try it and see if it'll work for what you want to do. And there's no questions asked, no shenanigans, you just get it. And in addition, I wanted to share that we're not going to just stop there with the Cory Thomas thing. We're going to also do something for the first 20 people that sign up, where they'll get a free hour-long implementation call with our team. So these are really cool. We usually reserve these only for people who sign up for the premium version of Plus This. But we'll do these as a special thank you for people on this webinar. If they want to start a free trial, we'll actually do an hour-long implementation call with you. And again, just the deadline Sunday, July 30th. So make sure to check that out sooner than later. Here's what the pages look like again, Campaigns with Titans, really simple process. Go there, fill out the form, pick which one you want, and you'll be good. And then there's one more thing I want to share before we end it here. Same thing, 25, get the Cory Thomas thing. 20, get the free hour-long implementation call. But probably one of the coolest things is that Brett has agreed to build the 4-day cash machine in your Infusionsoft app and make a walkthrough tutorial video on how to set it up for the first 10 people that sign up for a free trial. So some really cool bonuses. The deadline's not too far away, so just make sure it's something to keep in mind sooner than later. And that's it. The rest of the time I want to leave open to questions, and especially with Brett here, take advantage of anything of his time and anything you want to kind of ask. So let's go ahead and look at what people.
Cool. So there are a bunch of questions that have come in, and I know there's a lot of you on here that are existing customers, and I'm sure you're clamoring to figure out what you guys can do in that case. I'm going to handle a couple of questions that have come in, and then flip it back over to Bryce, and he can answer that question in just a second. But there's a couple of people that I wanted to just hit on real quick, and then we can flip back to that. So there was a question that came in. Russell, I think you asked, why would you remove tags using Infusionsoft when there's if you're going to remove tags in Infusionsoft, then why use the Smart Link? So you kind of just need to understand the difference between what Plus This is doing and how Infusionsoft interacts with it. So Plus This is looking at Infusionsoft to see what tag is applied or not applied. So for the 4-day cash machine specifically, we're applying a tag so that when Plus This goes to look, it has something to look for. The last example that we just saw, the last campaign, was actually checking to see if somebody was already a customer. So in that instance, Plus This is checking to see, does this person have the customer tag? And then, oh, hang on. I'm talking with my hands, but you can't see me. Again, the last example was if somebody has the customer tag, then we want to send them to a different offer because they are already a customer, which means we want to upsell them on something else. So it's not so much that Plus This would be controlling the tag being applied or removed, but rather Infusionsoft controls whether the tag is there based on whatever else you actually want to have happen. And then Plus This just looks at it when the person clicks the link to see, okay, does this person have the tag which will control whether they see the link, whether they see the right page or not. And the nice thing is it doesn't matter when you sent the email. If you use a Plus This Smart Link, you could have sent the email 5 weeks ago. And if you apply the tag, then you can turn it back on for somebody. And then if you remove the tag, you can turn it off. We actually had that happen several times with Frank, where people would email us and say, hey, I didn't get a chance to see the video. Any chance you could reopen it or whatever? And most of the time we would go back and say, we really, really, really hate doing this, but here we go, it's fine. And all we had to do was reapply the tag and it became live for everybody. And so it's just a way for you to control like one-off exactly how all that kind of stuff would work. There was one other, there were a couple other questions. Let me actually move this over here so I'm not turning to the side for this. A couple questions about using this for webinars. Now, we didn't talk about the webinar integrations.
No, yeah.
But there are some really cool things you can do with the webinar integrations that can tie into this, like a lot of what we did already talk about. Like, for example, I think Mel asked about using either GoToWebinar or EverWebinar. And then who else? Let's see. Paul, I think, also asked about the GoToWebinar integration. What you can do is, first of all, you can automatically subscribe people to the webinars from Infusionsoft, meaning you don't have to send them to an ugly GoToWebinar sign up link. And if I remember right, Bryce, you'll have to help me on this one. But with the EverWebinar integration, it's the same thing, right? You just use their HTTP post, right? So they don't have to go to another page for that, which means you can control the way it looks, and then also the follow-up emails, you control how those look as well.
Yep.
So there's a lot of that stuff that you can do. And then Mel, to speak specifically to you, you can actually set up a webinar that's essentially an automated webinar that's just a video on a page that has video tracking on it. And there are enough features in this to allow you to do that. I actually, as a side note, when I was working with Frank, we wanted to be able to run a webinar. We wanted that whiteboard workshop to be a webinar, but we didn't want to set it up in stealth, and EverWebinar was still too new. We didn't really want to use that. So we kind of leaned on Todd a little bit and got him to develop a couple of features that basically allow you to set up, build your own kind of webinar setup. So there are some features in there that you can use, and I'm sure that they would love to help you with the setup on that kind of stuff. But that's kind of how that works. And then with the GoToWebinar integration, in terms of like what it can do, not only can you register people in GoToWebinar, but then it will pull back attendee data. So for example, the 95 of you that are still here, it's going to go through and apply a tag to you that you showed up, and then as well, it's going to store, I don't know how much we have it set up, but it would store how many minutes you stayed on the webinar, so we could segment you by how long you stayed on. And then you can use that information to segment in your campaigns in Infusionsoft, which is really cool. So anyway, so those are a couple questions. I've got some more here, but Bryce, I think people are clamoring, our members are clamoring to find out. So what
Sure.
What can we do for those?
All right, so people who already are on this, if you go to the Campaigns with the Titans website, you can still get the physical version by following the form there. And I think if Brett, I'm putting him on the spot now, but do you think there's any way we could help hook up some of the current customers with the Frank Kern campaign? Or is that too hard to do on an individual basis?
I think if they ask really nicely, I'm going to watch the chat for a second. What do you think? Who can come with the nicest way of asking? Mel, not bad, Mel. Oh wow.
Cool.
That's a lot of pretties and pleases.
Yeah, I think they want it.
I think so. Here's what I would do. Here's what I do, guys. I would love to see. This is obviously up to Bryce, and I'm happy to help out with anybody else that would like a 40 cash machine. But as a little bit of incentive, because I don't want the offer, you guys. Yeah. You got to do something, okay? This is an exchange here. So here's what I would recommend that you do. Number one, send somebody a referral to this. So get someone signed up on this in the next week or so. Make that a commitment that you're going to actually go and do. Go get somebody to sign up for this. And then number two, try and refer somebody to Pick Snippets as well. This is me speaking out of the. Obviously, I'm not going to get anything from you guys going and signing up with them. But that would be for those of you that are currently members. First of all, you get it. You get why it's important because you've already signed up. So share that with somebody else. Get somebody else on this, but then also go out and check out Pick Snippets because I think that'd be good. So I'm happy to help out for any of you guys that are already members, and we can get those added for you as well.
Yeah, and I think something you could do pretty easily if you want is go share this Campaigns of the Titans website on social media somewhere. Like if I see an effort, that's what's important to me.
Oh, there you go. No, this is perfect. This is perfect.
Yeah.
I will build, here we go. I'm speaking directly to the camera, to all of you. I will build a 4-day cash machine for you if you go share this Campaign of the Titans website on social media, and then send an email, a screenshot, and send an email to Bryce so he has proof of it. And then I'll build.
That's
cool.
The ticket, golden ticket right there.
Awesome.
Does that help customers? Are you guys happier now with some? Does that kind of make up for? I know, I'm sorry we can't do all the bonuses for all of you guys, but I'm hoping at least we can get you a campaign.
Oh,
cool.
Nice, Amy. That's great. She said we'll do one better and post to both our social media streams and a meetup group. That's what's up right there. You guys might get some extra bells and whistles for that.
Yeah, I love it.
Okay, cool. So there are, Bryce, are there any other questions that you wanted to take? I know I've got some other ones on this side.
No, I'm good right now. I kind of got flooded with everyone loving that campaign, so I might have lost some of the questions.
Okay, cool. Well, I pulled some of them out, so I'll go through. Josh Henry asks, is it a good idea to attach a tag that shows the person is either live in the campaign or has seen the campaign so they don't double enter and get conflicting ending dates? That's a great question, and there's actually two answers to that. The first answer is in plus this, you can actually have it overwrite the date that's in the field. So we had that happen quite a bit when I was with Frank, and actually a lot of different campaigns that I built since then with the agency. In fact, we just ran into this the other day with one of our customers, where we're sending people back to campaigns that they haven't bought from, because my theory is always, as long as the content is good, if they don't buy from it, it's because they didn't read it, right? Because if they read the content, they would know why it's important and they would buy it, right? That's my theory. So I always will send people back if they didn't consume enough of the content in a campaign or didn't see the offer, because, you know, obviously they didn't see it. So from one side, I like to just put people back into campaigns, and then use plus this just to overwrite the dates so that it's always whatever their most current one is. But in some instances, you might be in a situation where you're putting people into more than one campaign at a time, in which case you either need to have a tag that will stop somebody from going into a campaign if they're already in one, or you need to have a specific date field that's for each type of campaign. So say you have, say you have 2 product lines and you want to market them sort of simultaneously. Maybe the emails aren't going on the same day, but you want to market them simultaneously. You could have a countdown date, like 4-day cash machine countdown date on one side for product line A, and then the same thing for product line B, but it would be its own field that you could then merge into from there. What we did, what I ended up doing with Frank and with this other client that with the agency is we centralized it. So we did apply a tag, and we're using a very specific tag naming convention. So there was always a certain type of tag applied when someone was active in a campaign. And so we were always, before we dropped anybody into any campaign, we were looking for, do they have any of these active campaign tags for any of my other campaigns? And then if they didn't, then we would drop them in. So I think I over-answered that question, but hopefully I got to it. And then let's see what else we got here. So Paul also asks, if we have videos stored on YouTube on the private setting. So for YouTube videos, in order for anybody to see them that's not logged in and has access to your account, which it's a YouTube thing, they have to be either public or unlisted. So private videos you can't share. It wouldn't work with video triggers, but unlisted videos, which as long as people don't have the link is essentially the same thing, it'll work for that. Oh, here's a good question. Here's a side question. So Nate Morris wants to know, what kind of mic do I use? So I'm actually kind of proud of this because I spent some good money on it. So this is it's a Shure SM7B, which is a pretty high quality studio microphone that runs into a XLR to USB thing. What's it called? Well, anyway, it takes the XLR input, drives it into USB, and then runs into my computer. And I love it. I actually have like 4 of these mics because I love them so much. We can go into why, but I have a lot of these mics, and they are amazing. So anybody that's got $500 to spare and they're just like, hey, I'd like a really expensive mic, this is the one to go get. So okay, cool. There was one other question that came up that I think, Bryce, if you can flip the screen to me, I want to go in and show something real quick. just follow up on that, the question about having the tag be applied for bigger lists. So let me make sure I'm at the right screen here. Okay. So first,
I muted myself.
Okay, no worries.
Yeah.
Let me log in as me, and I'll go into my Infusionsoft account. This is my personal Infusionsoft account that I use for stuff like this. What happens, let me go into Campaign Builder and just map this out, because this is an interesting little thing that you would never know unless you tried to do this. Let's call this example campaign of super duper awesome. All right. So just to put context back around what we're talking about here, in some instances, when you're trying to apply and remove tags, and you want the application of those tags to be in conjunction with emails that are being sent. So what I mean by that is this: I send, I have a tag that gets applied here, and then I wait for X number of days, and then I remove that same tag. Looks like this. Okay, the amount of time doesn't really matter, but then I have emails that are supposed to go, and they're supposed to coincide with the dates, right? So for example, the email that gets sent here says you have 2 days left, we'll say, and the tag gets applied, and then 2 days go by, and then an email is sent out at 10:45 or whatever that says your access is about to go away. And then the tag is supposed to get removed at this, like 2 hours after that email is sent. Okay. What can happen is because Infusionsoft processes these emails as a batch, meaning it'll take everybody that's scheduled for that email, and then it just sets up a broadcast in essence. Those broadcasts, the emails have to be sent out one at a time. So if there is a large enough list, this email can take longer to send out than it takes for this tag to be removed. So what can happen is if you've got, let's say, 50,000 people, or we'll use a smaller number, let's say 25,000 people on your email list, and these two things are queued to happen. Let's say this one is queued to go, this is set to go 3 hours, 2 hours later, 4 hours later, we'll just use that. And this one is set to go, let's say, 6 hours later. Okay, so 1, 6. This will be a good example. Email's supposed to go 4 hours later. Tag's supposed to be removed 6 hours later. So there's a 2 hour window. And in the email, we said you have 2 hours left. And then this is going to be removed. Then you're going to lose access. If this email takes longer than 2 hours to send, which is a factor of how many people are that email's being sent to, like how many email addresses are actually in there, this email can be, it can take longer for this email to send than it does for this tag to get removed. So it could take 3 or 4 hours for the email to go out, but the tag gets removed quickly. And so that tag can get removed before the email that goes out that says you have 2 hours left. That was one of the things that we ran into pretty early on, actually, with Frank, because he has a massive list that we were sending to. So if your email list, and I would say the threshold for this for me is probably 10,000. I would say if your email list is 10,000, you should configure these things differently. I'm going to show you how. Instead of setting up the tag application and removal in separate swim lanes or separate lines, I would take this piece, the removal of that tag, and stick it on the end after the email is sent. Because what that does is it allows Infusionsoft to complete sending the email before it even queues the tag to be removed, right? So in this case, the email is going to be sent, and then this is going to be done for that person, and then 2 hours later is when this tag is going to be removed, as opposed to perhaps the email being sent after the tag is removed. Okay, so hopefully it answers that speaks to that specific thing. That was just something that I wanted to bring up and mention as something that that's kind of important to remember. So I think those are. Let's see. I'm going to see if there's any other questions that I have.
Amy asked a question that I should answer too. She asked if we have an affiliate program. Yes, we do. If you go to our website, I believe the URL for it is affiliates.plusthis.com, but it's in our resources tab. on the navigation at the top too. So if you have a lot of clients that use Infusionsoft, or you're a partner or anything else, and you want to refer people and get paid, we have an affiliate program for those people too.
And it's a cool affiliate program. It's not like the Infusionsoft one, just so everybody knows.
Mel says Batman Brett is brilliant, so that's awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mel.
Cool. Any other questions that you think I can go through, Bryce, that you've seen?
It's looking good. Yeah, this is the last call for questions, but I'm just kind of scrolling through, seeing if there's any that we missed.
Oh, Amy, I'll just respond to this real quick. Amy's asking why would you ever have these things in separate lines? Why would you ever set it up like this to begin with? The reason it's aesthetics, Amy. I don't know if you remember, but I come from a certain, let's say, genetic line of anal retentiveness, and it's about aesthetics. It's about making the campaign look a little bit better. And for the most part, when I build campaigns, this is totally off topic, by the way, but I'm going to go here anyway. When I build campaigns, I usually have 4 or 5 of these, because I want to split out between what types of tags are being applied and removed and what emails are being sent. So I might have like status tags that get applied and removed up here, and then some history tags that get applied and removed here, and then maybe like some integrations. I might fire off my plus this features in a different line, and then have my emails at the bottom. Most of the time, that's how I do it. But then for specific things where there's a large list involved, I'll integrate those tags into the actual line of what's going on. So anyway, it's fine. That's the way that my mind works.
I don't want to miss this question from Tim. I realized he actually put it in here again because we missed it before. That's my bad, Tim. Sorry. He asked if there's one campaign or feature in Plus This you recommend that everyone should use or start with. What is it?
Smart links.
That's what I would say. Dang it.
Smart links.
Smart links are so useful. You can use them for expiring offers. They're really powerful. That's what I was talking about also in my story too. Like, we did a video series, a 4-part video series, and smart links were really what drove the sales, because it added urgency. It took people through those videos. They had a certain amount of time to get a good deal on one of our products or whatever. And then it expired, and it was real authentic scarcity too. It wasn't something that was just there forever and we're joking around that would be 24 hours. It really was 24 hours, and SmartLinks allowed us to automate it. I would definitely start there, and it's super universal too. Countdown timers might be another
it's so
one.
dynamic. Yeah, it's so dynamic. And well, the countdown timers, I feel like for a 4-day cash machine, those things tie in together. And I think the second half of your question is, what's a campaign? It would be scarcity, like the original style of 4-day cash machine, which is just placing time scarcity around your offers. Like the end of every here's actually a lesson that everybody should learn. At the end of every single one of your campaigns, no matter what you're doing, there should be a 4-day cash machine. That's the end of anything you do. So if it's a webinar, invite emails, they show up for the webinar or not, you send a little bit of follow-up to the people based on whether they showed up or not, and then everybody goes into a 4-day cash machine. Then there's always a deadline. It always expires. The links always turn off. But building a 4-day cash machine, and then like you said, Bryce, the countdown timers play beautifully in with the smart links for that.
Got it. Yep.
One other question from Matt. Do I use the 6-division naming convention? Funny you should ask, because not many people will admit to this, but I actually was 50% of building the 6-division naming convention. So yeah, I use them personally, religiously. Actually, ironically enough, the agency that I work with now, the Oliver Bilson Marketing Agency, already had implemented them for all of their clients before I even joined. So it was perfect. I didn't have to teach them how to do it. But that way of setting up tags in Infusionsoft it's not just in my opinion, it is the right way to do it, and it is the only way to do it, is to set up tags using that naming convention. So anyway, yeah, you should check out the Academy from 6-division if you don't know what that is.
Yeah, that's a good one. Mel asks another good question. Do you have a good version of an evergreen webinar setup? Is it in the volume 1 or volume 2? We do have one from Steven in volume 2 that uses an auto evergreen webinar setup. So you might check that one out. He uses a cool little survey thing to kick it off too. So I'd probably start there.
Cool.
Good. Awesome. Thanks, guys, I think this is it. We're going to call it a wrap. And thanks for everyone for staying, especially this long on to the webinar. I hope it was super valuable for you. And we're just getting started with Campaigns with the Titans. So we'll see more of that. We love to add to it. And we'll have some cool giveaways too. Maybe we'll do another webinar in a couple months too.